Welcome to this tutorial on NFHS softball rules. This tutorial will cover Rule 2, definitions. Definitions are the keystone to the rules. It is upon them that all the rules are crafted and built. Whenever you're having trouble with understanding a rule or sorting out some difficult play, it is usually beneficial to identify the keywords and go look at their definition. We aren't going to cover all definitions because we want to leave something for you to do, but rather we will choose several definitions that can be tricky or are simply part of every game you umpire. You serve yourself best if you do read them all and study them all, even if you think you already know them all. A word here or a word there may surprise you or even enlighten you. So read them all, but here are the ones this tutorial will talk about. Ball rotation, base path and line, catch, check swing, force, fair foul, foul tip, and infield fly. Now you may have noticed that there were quite a few rather big or important definitions that were not listed in what we will cover. Definitions like the ones listed here. That's because these will be covered in their own separate tutorial dedicated strictly to them. Let's begin. Ball rotation. Ball rotation is a seemingly inconsequential rule, and therefore many umpires tend to ignore it, but there is a reason for it. The reason for enforcing ball rotation is to ensure that both balls get sufficiently scruffed up early in the game, making both balls as nearly alike as possible. If the balls are equally scruffed, pitchers will not always be requesting a different ball or whining if they must pitch a ball not of their choice. If ball rotation is enforced correctly, no pitcher will ever have more than one game ball in her possession. What ball rotation says is that the pitcher, in the top of the first, must start with the ball provided, usually the one she has warmed up with. The pitcher in the bottom of the first must start with the other ball, unless the ball used in the top of the first had gone out of play and the other ball had already been introduced into the game in the top of the first. If that were the case, then that inning and every subsequent inning thereafter, before throwing any warm-up pitches, the pitcher may request the other ball from the umpire. Once she has gotten the other ball, she may not have the first ball back again, and she must throw the ball given to her by the umpire. If the current game ball goes into dead ball territory by any means, fouled out of play, pass ball gets under the backstop, thrown out of play, the umpire will give the pitcher the other game ball, and she must pitch that ball until such time as it goes out of play or the inning ends. Here's an example of a pitcher requesting a different ball from the umpire at the beginning of an inning and before she has thrown any warm-up pitches. She asks, "Blue, can I have the other ball?" The umpire says, "Sure, give me that one first," and so she does. Then the umpire gives her the other ball. Are there exceptions? Sure. For instance, a ball may get cut or battered so badly that it should no longer be used in the game, and the replacement ball provided to you is noticeably inferior. Or the field may be wet, it might be sprinkling a little, and one ball is drier than the other. But one thing that is not an exception to ignore ball rotation is to simply expedite the game. It is true, sometimes it is quicker to simply let the ball that went out of play come right back to the pitcher. Often someone retrieving a ball out of play will just throw it back to the pitcher. If you allow this to happen and do not enforce proper ball rotation, then later in the game when the ball is fouled way out in the cow pasture and does not come back immediately, the pitcher will expect you to allow her to wait for the ball that she wants. Base path baseline. A baseline is a direct line between two consecutive bases. Baseline is a talking point, terminology used to describe a place on the field, but it has little to do with how the game is played or with interpreting a rule. Base path is where the runner runs if she is not attempting to avoid a tag. Basically, she can run pretty near anywhere she wants. Why in the world she would want to take such a path makes no sense, but the rules do not prevent it. More traditionally, a base path is where the runner travels when attempting to advance to the next base. It is more or less a line between the bases with a 3-foot leeway on either side. In reality, a runner establishes her own base path, and it only really matters where she runs if a fielder is trying to tag her. In those instances, her base path is a straight line from wherever she is to either of the bases she is between when a tag attempt is initiated. She then has only 3 feet on either side of either line. Say our runner has rounded first really wide, and now she is trying to get back to first, and the fielder has the ball and is trying to tag her. She has a straight line back to first base, and she has 3 feet on either side of that line. The 3 feet is an umpire's judgment, and it is usually judged by the extended arms of the fielder. If a runner veers more than the extended reach of the fielder, causing the fielder to lunge, the runner is generally considered out of the base path and is called out immediately. The ball is left live to give the offended team an opportunity to get another out somewhere. Catch. A catch is ruled when a fielder has secure possession of the ball in her hand or in her glove, and when her release of the ball is both voluntary and intentional. This too is umpire judgment. There are things that occur during a legal catch that may look like the ball was dropped. One of the most common things that can happen is for a fielder to catch the ball in her glove, and then when bringing the glove toward her throwing hand in order to transfer it, the ball comes loose. This is still considered a catch because the act of bringing the glove to the throwing hand is considered a separate and new action from the catch. In other words, the catch was legal, and then she did something else, and that is what caused the ball to come out. It was not continuous action of catching the ball. Umpires traditionally hear the cry, "Ah, come on, Blue, she had it long enough," when the ball comes out as part of continuous action with the catch. This might happen when a fielder appears to catch the ball, say at the top of her shoestrings, but the force of her forward momentum causes her to somersault, and during that time the ball comes out. That would not be a catch. There is, however, a time when long enough should be ruled a catch. For instance, center fielder catches the ball for the third out of the inning. And after running several feet toward the infield on her way to the dugout, she clumsily trips over second base and loses the ball. That would be long enough. A checked swing is the restraining action a batter uses when she has decided to hit the ball and then decides not to. There are lots of things an umpire can use to help make this judgment, like, did the wrists roll over? Did the barrel end of the bat come in front of the batter? Did the hips open? But the bottom line in making this judgment is, do you, the umpire, think that she actually swung at the pitch even though she was trying to stop? If you do think she actually tried to hit the ball, then point at her. You don't want people thinking you judged the pitch as in the zone. Point at her and say something like, yes, or yes you did, or yes she swung. Then rule the pitch a strike. These are two separate and distinct signals. Bring your point arm into the body and then bring your strike hammer up. Do not just bring your arm straight up from the point. Generally, an umpire will point with the arm closest to the batter, so she does not have to point across her own body. Now, if the pitch really was in the zone, it doesn't matter what the batter did with the bat. In those cases, simply call the pitch a strike. In either case, if you have ruled the pitch a strike, it is a strike, and you do not go for help from your partner if asked. You simply tell them that you judged the batter swung or that the pitch was in the zone, and it will remain a strike. If you are unsure whether the batter swung, immediately, without waiting to be asked, step out from behind the batter, remove your mask, point at your partner, and ask, did she go? Or did she swing? If you are pretty sure she didn't swing and the pitch is not in the zone, then call the pitch a ball. But don't say no she didn't, just call it a ball. Then, if the catcher or coach asks you to check with your partner, do it. You don't have to by rule, but why wouldn't you? Wouldn't you rather have a strike anyway? There are enough things we do that make them angry. Why go to battle over checking whether a batter swung or not? Of course, you're not going to allow this to happen on a regular basis. But when it happens occasionally, in your best interest, you should go for help. Always give the count after going for help on a check swing, whether or not the original call was changed. Force out. This is when a runner loses the right to a base because the batter became a runner. A force out ends when she touches the next base or a following runner is put out. You can never have a force out on a caught fly ball. That's because the batter does not become a runner. If it is a force out, the fielders only have to tag the base, not the runner, in order to get an out. If the third out of an inning is a force out, no runs can score. Now, could this be a force out? The fielder has the ball securely in her glove. However, the glove is on the ground, and she is touching the base with her other hand. Or that might be a foot, I'm not really sure. And here comes the runner. Sure, if this runner is forced to advance, The fielder does not have to tag the base with her foot or with the glove. Here's the batter runner coming to first base and the fielder's catching the ball. Is this a force out? Technically, it is not, because the definition, and here we are, we're in Rule 2, definitions. The definition of a force is that a runner is forced to vacate a base because the batter became a runner. Well, this is the batter runner, and no one is forcing her to vacate a base. But for the purpose of talking, because of its similarity to a force, in that only the ball has to get there and the runner does not have to be tagged, this is generally referred to as a force out at first base. Foul ball, fair ball. Here are the signals associated with ruling a ball fair or foul. Foul is the only one that may be accompanied by a verbal call. There is never a verbal call with the signal fair. Fair is simply pointing toward fair territory. It may be made with either arm, and it may be made with the mask in the hand. So what makes a ball fair or foul? These definitions are pretty much straight from the book. In the first bullet point for each, settles means stopped. Do not rule a ball fair or foul until it has stopped rolling. Make this a habit and you will never get burned by a ball that looks like it's going to be foul, hits a little rock, and juts into fair territory after you've already called it foul. Just wait till it stops. The second bullet point is similar for each. In this case, however, once the ball hits the ground, it is immediately fair or foul, no matter where it subsequently rolls. The third bullet point for each talks about if the ball touches something. The fourth bullet point for each refers to where the ball is when it crosses the outfield fence, either a home run or a foul ball. The last bullet point for each are different. It is a foul ball if the batter is hit with her own batted ball while she's still in the batter's box. It is also a foul ball if the batter hits her own batted ball a second time while the bat is in her hands and she is in the batter's box. It is a fair ball if the ball hits a base while it is bounding towards the outfield. That means that it has already hit the ground and now it is bouncing towards the outfield, and one of its bounces takes it over the base or actually has it touch the base. It should be apparent that some judgments on whether a ball is fair or foul might be pretty dicey calls. It is for that reason that an umpire must be straddling the line when judging a ball fair or foul, that is, anywhere, say, within 4 feet of the line. By straddling the line, an umpire increases his credibility with the call. It makes the call more difficult to argue because of where the umpire was standing, and, to be blunt, it makes it so the umpire can actually see where the ball is. You saw in the previous frame that one umpire simply called an out. That is because a ball in flight has no fair or foul status until it is touched, hits the ground, or stops. A ball in flight is simply a live ball. Once it is touched, it is either fair or foul unless it is caught simultaneously with the first touch. In that case, it is just an out. Because a caught fly ball has no fair or foul status either. It is simply an out. What's the call in this case? She's straddling the line. The umpire's up the line is also straddling the line. He's the only one can see exactly where that ball is on the first touch, but he doesn't need to rule fair or foul because she catches it simultaneously with first touching it, and therefore it is simply an out. What's the call in this situation? This is a foul ball because it was over foul territory when it was first touched by a player. It is immaterial then where the ball subsequently lands, as this one does in fair territory. A play as close as this one is more evidence why an umpire must be straddling the line to make a believable judgment. Foul tip. Sharply and directly. That means in a straight line and with speed. To the catcher's hand or glove. That means her knee or chest or any other part of her body or equipment don't count. Is caught by the catcher. That means if any player other than the catcher catches it, it is not a foul tip, it is a foul ball. All three criteria, sharply and directly, catcher's glove or hand, caught by catcher, must be satisfied before a ball is a foul tip. So, if the ball kind of loops upward or goes off to the side, that ball cannot be a foul tip since it did not satisfy the first criteria, sharply and directly. What happens after that is immaterial since it has already taken itself out of the foul tip category. If the ball does go sharply and directly to the catcher's head, it cannot be a foul tip since it did not satisfy the second criteria, which is must go sharply and directly to the catcher's hand or glove. If the ball goes sharply and directly to the catcher's hand or glove and then ricochets away and is caught by the third baseman, it cannot be a foul tip since it did not satisfy the third criteria, caught by the catcher. All three criteria must be satisfied. So, if a ball does not go sharply and directly but goes slightly upward or downward or to the side, what is it? It's a ball in flight. And if that ball in flight is caught by any fielder, it would be an out. Even if a catcher kind of deflects it. Say she dives for a ball that goes off to the side. She kind of deflects it and the third baseman charging in catches the ball. This is no different than the pitcher who plants herself under a pop-up to the infield and then she drops it. But the shortstop is right there and she miraculously catches it before it touches the ground. This would be a ball in flight that is caught by a defensive player for an out. It is not a foul tip. Here's sort of a mechanogram from Referee Magazine, and it illustrates a ball that goes sharply and directly to the catcher's shoulder. Okay, sharply and directly, we still got we're still in the foul tip category, but must go to hand or glove. This one goes to the shoulder, so it immediately is out of the foul tip category. It cannot be a foul tip, and it is, by definition in foul tip, immediately a foul ball. Infield fly. The purpose of the infield fly rule is so the defense cannot get an easy 2 outs by purposely not catching the ball and then turning an easy double play because runners will not have left their bases, or leastwise, they will not be very far from their original base. But the infield fly rule is not just for any old pop-up to the infield. There are 3 things that must exist or happen for a pop-up to the infield to be declared an infield fly. Number 1, there must be less or fewer than 2 outs. If there are 2 outs, there would be no advantage for the defense not to catch the ball since they only need 1 out. Number 2, there must be runners on at least first and second, and could be runners on first, second, and third. In other words, there must be an opportunity to force a runner out at any of the bases. Number 3, the umpire must judge that the ball can be caught by an infielder with ordinary effort, and the judgment comes in concerning ordinary effort. Ordinary effort takes into consideration the skill of the players. Maybe the difference between a freshman shortstop and a varsity shortstop. Ordinary effort takes in the condition of the field and the weather, as well as where the fielder was positioned prior to the hit. Backpedaling, turning around and running away from the infield to catch the ball are generally not considered ordinary effort. On an infield fly, the batter is always out. The ball stays live. No runner is forced to advance. If the ball is caught, it is treated the same as any caught fly ball, in that runners must tag up if they wish to advance. But remember, they do not have to advance because they are not forced because the batter is already out. Again, like any fly ball, if an infield fly is not caught, the runners don't need to tag up if they wish to advance. But again, they do not have to advance at all. The mechanic for infield fly. Prior to stepping behind the catcher, if the infield fly situation is in effect, the plate umpire should signal to the base umpires by putting his right hand to his left chest. The base umpire does not just nod or tap his hat or do something like that. He responds with the identical signal. Judgment of the ball itself and declaring it belong primarily to the plate umpire. If the plate umpire is unsure, she should look at her partner for help. If it is obviously an infield fly, and the plate umpire has a brain burp of some sort and simply does not call it, the base umpire should be proactive and make the call loudly and clearly. The generally accepted mechanic for the plate umpire is to point up with one finger and declare infield fly. Then the arm is dropped down into a hammer and the umpire declares batter is out. Once the plate umpire has declared the hit an infield fly, the base umpire should raise one finger in the air and say in a voice loud enough for the closest players to hear, "Infield fly." If the ball is close to the line, the plate umpire should include the words "if fair" to her declaration of infield fly. And remember, she should be also straddling the line. Then, if the ball is simply caught or falls to the ground fair, the umpire calls the batter out as before. If the ball is uncaught and drops to the ground as a foul ball, the umpire calls foul ball and the batter returns to the plate. When there are no longer runners on first and second, or there are two outs, the plate umpire signals to the base umpire that the infield fly situation is no longer in effect by wiping his open right hand down his left arm. And once again, the base umpire should respond with the same signal. Rule 2. Definition. We have explored only a few of the many, many, many definitions included in Rule 2. We explored ball rotation, base path and line, catch, check, swing, force, fair foul, foul tip, infield fly. These are things that are pretty regular occurrences in any ball game, and umpires need to be very familiar with their definition and how to rule on these or enforce these situations. There are many more definitions. Please read and study them all. Definitions truly are the key to understanding the rules.